Didn't you know? Crazy Taxi is a 2001 speed-induced fever dream released on the Nintendo GameCube, and the first game to ever feature realistic driving. It was originally created as an experiment in synthetically creating and increasing testosterone levels wirelessly, a feat which was still achieved even in video game form. The concept of Crazy Taxi itself was actually based on real-life events. Series creator Ichiro Oda explained in a 2001 4chan thread following the game's release that the driving in the game was actually based on his own life experiences. I like to think I'm a practical man. After teaching myself how to drive, I figured, what's the point in doing it if I can't make money from it? And so I decided to be a taxi driver, and later when I entered into the gaming industry, I put those mechanics into my own game. I had no idea that you weren't supposed to drive like that until a coworker told me. It wasn't even originally supposed to be called Crazy Taxi, it was just going to be called Taxi. Now I understand why I got pulled over so many times in 7th grade. Later updates to the 4chan thread revealed that the car Oda drove growing up was actually a taxi with no brakes, but, as Oda puts it, that doesn't mean nothing broke. One of the unique aspects of Crazy Taxi is the inclusion of fully modeled characters that are seen driving the taxi. The main character of the story mode, Axel, is actually cited as being Oda's favorite character, though not for the reasons you may think. It's actually because Axel is based off of one of Oda's favorite anime characters, Zoro from One Piece. If you look closely, you can see that they share similar clothing, body structures, and even hairlines and hair colors. Fans of Oda know that a common trend in Oda's games is for him to put anime characters in as Easter eggs, referencing his love of anime. While he usually includes characters from his favorite anime One Piece, Axel is unique as he's the first ever example where the character isn't directly taken from anime. It's been theorized that this is due to Oda never paying for the rights to use any of the anime characters in his past games, resulting in him needing to put in his own original content instead. During Crazy Taxi's story mode, the player drives what seems to be a normal yellow taxi. However, there's actually an Easter egg hidden in plain sight, though it only becomes apparent once made aware of another Easter egg which accompanies it. If you look very closely, at certain points during gameplay you can see part of the bottom of the taxi. Here, you'll be able to see 4 round wheels known as tires. This is a reference to Shadow the Hedgehog from Shadow the Hedgehog for the Nintendo GameCube. This made most apparent by the way the tires behave during gameplay, constantly spinning and propelling the taxi forward, similar to Shadow's spin dash. In addition to this, they even share the same color. The reference doesn't end there, however. The Easter egg in plain sight is what is above the tires. The taxi that the player drives is painted yellow, the same color as Shadow's super form, which is superior to his base form, hence why it is symbolically placed above the tires. When playing through the canon story, the player controls Axel, whose hair is the same color as the Chaos Emerald as well, completing the reference. One of the most memorable parts of Crazy Taxi is the narrator's dialogue, but didn't you know that none of his narration was actually meant to be in the game? In a 2001 yoga class following the game's release, Oda explained that the voice clips by the narrator were put in by accident by his developers. According to his statement, they were actually recordings of his best friend Reggie from when Oda was a taxi driver in middle school. Somehow the game developers ended up getting a hold of the recordings, thinking that they were meant to be put in the game, resulting in the wacky narration we know and love. Didn't you also know that despite popular belief, the minigame Clefairy Says from Pokemon Stadium isn't based on Simon Says, but was actually inspired by events from Reggie Fils-Aimé's formative years? If you want to know more trivia on Pokemon and other obscure video game series, look out for the Didn't You Know Video Games episode on Pokemon Stadium. And don't forget to look out for new episodes of Didn't You Know Video Games.